Hey, check 1 2. Hey, check 1 2. Can you hear me? Hey, everybody. Give me 1 second while I just check the sound here. All right, it sounds pretty good. Thanks for tuning in. If you have a strap, please grab a strap. Please grab a block. Yeah, strap and a block, and we'll get started. Just trying to make sure the All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. Nice to see you and nice to share the practice with you today. So, what I just want to start us off with is one of the niyamas. There are. Let me rewind for a second. The yamas and the niyamas are the first two of the 8 limbs of yoga. And what they're designed to do is kind of deconstruct mental patterns and reconstruct mental patterns to disrupt the patterning of our behavior, our emotional, our mental patterns, to help find greater equanimity. And one of those niyamas to help reconstruct the patterning of the constructs of our mind is called Swadhyaya. And I'm just going to read it straight out for you. Swadhyaya is self-awareness. It requires a willingness to look deeply into ourselves so that we don't stay stuck in what we habitually believe ourselves to be. This kind of deep investigation of the patterning of the mind leads to connection of who we are as pure consciousness. Now, this is essentially what we've been doing this entire immersion, and that is to understand the different compartments of the mind in order to break free of the constructs and the limitations of the mind itself. Not to dismiss or diminish the mind, not to say that the mind is not incredibly powerful and incredibly important and magnificent and a part of our life that we want to honor, but to acknowledge that it's only a piece of the puzzle of life itself. And so what we're trying to do is tune into all of it. And so Swadhyaya is the deeper reflections into the patterned behaviors in our mental constructs in order to reveal the greater pattern of the universe to our awareness. And one thing that I want to talk about here is this idea of Pratipaksha Bhavanam. And that's Sutra 2.33 for those of you that have this book. When the mind becomes attached to thoughts or desires, working with the yamas and the niyamas to bring the mind opposite thoughts and emotions changes the brain's patterning and creates proper attitude for practice. This is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. This essentially is saying that when we practice things that challenge ourselves, in particular in the mind, well, in the body too, but when we practice things that challenge us, it not only opens us up to a greater sense of awareness of the fullness, but it helps us to change the patterning of the mind. Meaning, in neuroscience, there is, they would say, if you create new patterns of behavior or new thought patterns, new neurological pathways form. And the concept of being able to change the constructs of your brain, the physical part of the physical mechanism, the physical mechanism changes when you start changing your behaviors and thoughts. So we have this ability called neuroplasticity, the ability to change the way our neurons fire and wire together. So physically, we can change the patterns of our brain, and mentally, we can change the patterns of our mind and emotions. And it actually creates each affect one another. So by practicing the yamas and the niyamas, by doing things that are directly in opposition of our own patterns, we open ourselves up to a broader experience, but we actually change the physical constructs of the brain through this idea of neuroplasticity. But what we want to become aware of is where our mind's attachments are formed, the attachments to thoughts, desires. When we directly look at those attachments, then we have the opportunity to make changes. And that's what brings about a repatterning of the brain, which is magnificent. We can actually repattern the brain by changing our practices, by stepping onto the mat and doing the things that challenge us, to directly try to change the brain by self-reflection, looking deeper into the patterns of our mind. This is why I feel it's important that we understand there are different compartments of the mind, because then we can see the different patterns that are formed in the different compartments. So the ahamkara, the ego, our identity maker, we will see that there are certain patterns that are formed in that in order to keep the constructs of our mind, the constructs of our identity intact. Because the identity, choking on my own spit here, the identity wants to stay solidified and wants to stay sure of itself. It wants to say, this is who I am. If we allow that to rule us, if we allow that to be what holds, what governs our actions, then we're always going to be acting and reacting, I should say, better word, reacting out of trying to defend our past identity, rather than the willingness to open ourselves up to some other new potential for who we might be becoming. So a lot of this is about opening to our potential of who we are becoming. So not getting trapped in who we were. If we understand that we have patterns in our memory, in the smriti part of our mind, and we call these patterns samskaras, then we understand that the structure of the lens that we look through life, the grooves of our mind are formed from deep-seated memories that have happened in the past. If we allow them to, and they typically do for all of us, to be the lens that we look through, then we never see life clearly. What we want to do here with this yoga practice, this practice of swadhyaya, self-awareness, is change the attitude about the way that we approach our daily living, starting with stepping on the mat. We change our attitude, and here's in the simplest form. When we acknowledge something challenges us, or something or we have resistance to something, may we cultivate an attitude of welcoming, of openness. This change of attitude of welcoming and openness to things that we are resistant against, or things that we that are directly in contrast to what we are attached to, whether it's our identity or our patterned behaviors or thoughts or emotions. If we can change our attitude to an openness and a receptivity to all that we may not know, then what we're doing is opening to our highest potential. We are opening the door that says, I'm welcoming my highest potential, rather than getting stuck in the walls of my mind. Okay, so it's about cultivating an attitude of openness, an attitude of welcoming both the good and the bad, the challenges, but ultimately bringing in things that are not already in our patterns, opening ourselves to what else is there. And that is what allows us to transcend or transform the mind itself so that we can experience the universal patterning of energy that that pulses through us. The universe itself in the form of chitta, unbound, infinite source of oneness that is pure knowledge, that is pure wisdom, that is the energy of consciousness itself pulses through us, but we cannot touch it, experience it, feel it without opening our mind to all that we do not know, without stepping into our potential, to this attitude of openness. So may we open to all we do not know yet, even and especially when we feel challenged, especially when we feel resistant towards something, someone. Is it possible to open even in that time? Is it possible to cultivate an attitude of openness and receptivity? This can be applied outwardly and inwardly. Inwardly, cultivating an attitude of everything I'm resistant against, an attitude of openness to everything that I'm resistant against, everything that scares me, everything that is in direct contrast, opposition to my belief systems, thought patterns, emotional patterns. Can I open even to that internally? And can I open to it externally? Depending on the type of person you are, the inward journey or the outward journey, one of them is going to be more difficult for you. Some of you are going to be more willing to invite and be open to the contrast within, to fight the inner demons. Some of you will be more open and willing to fight the outer demons. And what I mean by fight is fight your own, fight yourself by cultivating that attitude of openness. You might be more willing to have a conversation with somebody that challenges you outwardly than you are to have a conversation with yourself. And others of you will be more willing to have a conversation with yourself than you would with somebody else. But we need to cultivate both sides. Swadhyaya is a self-reflection or self-awareness practice that is both inward and outward, cultivating an attitude of openness. Are you with me? I hope so. I think you are. I don't see you high-fiving or cheering, but I bet that you are. That's why you stepped into this training, right? That's why you stepped into this immersion, because you want to open up to your potential, your highest potential. And in that way, as an individual, we can open up to each other, open up to the universe itself, and grow and expand. So today, I think having a block will be really beneficial for most of you, because we're going to go a little bit deeper into hip opening. Let's see. We are going to use a strap, I believe. I've got it nearby, so please have a strap or a belt nearby in case we get to that point. And what I'd like to do is develop a deeper hip flexion. Flexion of the hip is when the hip, the thigh bone comes closer in. It tucks in tight. And we need that deep hip flexion in order to go to the next steps in our towards our peak postures. Today, I have an interesting peak posture that for some is going to be fairly simple, and for others is going to be incredibly challenging. And that really has to do with what your hip flexibility is in that flexion position. So let's have a block. I've got a really a fun few poses, fun, intense few poses that we'll be using with the block in order to create deeper hip flexion. And let's have a strap just in case we can get to that point. All right, so let's start today on all fours, hands and knees. Oh, I don't have my watch. There it is. On all fours, hands and knees, we take a full breath in. And as you exhale, round the back. Inhale, arch and look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch and look up. Exhale and round. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. All right. Let's take the right arm, thread it underneath, and allow the right side of the head to rest and stretch. You can see it, you can lengthen the trapezius muscle by leaning a little bit and lengthening the side of the neck here. Take another breath in. Slowly come on out. Slide the left arm underneath. And again, lean away from your hips to lengthen the trapezius muscle. And then the rest of the head in a comfortable position where there's a little stretch of the neck, the traps. Couple more breaths here. All right, come back out of this. All fours, inhale, arch. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, all fours, arch the back, look up. Exhale, round child's pose. Inhale, arch, look up, tuck the toes. And last time, exhale, point and round child's pose. Inhale, forward, all fours. You'll lower onto your belly. Roll onto your back, please. We'll warm up the hip muscles, the buttock muscles with some bridge lifts. Bend your elbows, fingertips face the sky, and plug your shoulder heads back into the ground. So kind of just push. You can even lift your chest up a little bit and then push the shoulder heads down. Feet about outer hip width apart, and try to press straight down through your heels. Lift the hips up. Press your buttocks to the sky, so your glute muscles should be fired up here, and then slow exhale, release. Let's do that again. Push down through the heels, inhale. Even pull the heels a little towards your bum. Exhale. 3 more, inhale. Press your pelvis to the sky. Exhale. Again, 2 more. Press down through the inner heels, by the way. Exhale. One more time. Exhale. Now take your right knee towards your chest. Interlace the hands in front of the knee with your shoulders. Pull your shoulders into the earth. And then with your knee, flex your right foot. With your knee, press into your into your hands. So you feel your buttock muscles fire up here. If you don't feel that, then you're not doing what I'm asking. So see if you can pull your shoulders back. And with your arms, pull your knee towards your chest. But with your knee, try to push into your hands. So you feel your glute muscles and hamstrings activate. Two more breaths. Continue activating. It's real easy once the intensity ramps up to kind of forget about that openness to cultivating the attitude of open to the resistance and release. Or maybe we say open to our potential, which might feel like resistance, might feel like intensity. It might feel like we want to run away. These are all signs that our potential exists on the other side of that. If we can find a way through, not all adventures have happy endings. You might find that working through the intensity of activating a muscle leaves you feeling fatigued and tired. And maybe the next time you get more skillful at it, or you get stronger and you're able to work through it longer. Okay, switch sides. So it's not like every battle we're going to win when we cultivate an attitude of openness towards our highest potential. That's not necessarily the goal, but rather to keep showing up. Keep showing up. So pressing your knee into your hands. Keep showing up with the desire to remain open, knowing that sometimes the battle will be lost, but if you keep showing up, then you'll start to break down the walls of the ego, both if you're going inward, of course, or you might break down the mental and emotional barriers between interpersonal connection by perhaps being open to the challenging conversations with others, open to the highest potential for ourselves and others around us through conversations that might challenge us. Okay, and release. Press the elbows down. Let's do 5 bridge lifts. Again, open to the intensity as a way of getting stronger. Inhale. Exhale. 4 more. Inhale. Exhale. Really get your pelvis up to the sky so you feel your buttocks engaged. Inhale. Press down through the heels. Even pull your heels towards your bum. Exhale. When you pull your heels towards your buttocks, you're going to feel your hamstrings ignite. Inhale. Pull your heels towards your buttocks and drive down through the heels, hips up. And exhale. We get one more. Press down, drive the pelvis to the sky, heels down and towards you. And exhale. Okay. Now, take your right knee. This time you're going to bring it towards your right armpit, so a little bit out to the side, and plug your right shoulder down into the ground and really pull it in as tight as you can. Now, press the knee into your hands, trying to get out of it with the right knee, okay? And then slide your left thigh, internally rotate it and slide it straight as this half Apanasana. So you're going to press your knee into your hand, activating the glute muscles, trying to get out of it, okay? And the standing leg, which would be, if we were standing up like on the ground, would be the left leg. So imagine your left foot is standing on the ground. You're going to flex the foot and keep the thigh bone turned up to the sky. So internally rotate it. The right knee is pressing into your hands, activating the glute muscles. You're going to feel it give up and release from time to time. And that's where we have to just remain open to our highest potential. That means we have to face the challenges like strengthening. You have to stay in the conversation with your muscular system and say, you know what, I know this is hard and you want to give up, but let's stay with it. Press the knee into the hands. And release. Now feel that sweet release that comes with that effort. Switch sides. Left knee pulls in towards the left armpit. Really use your arm muscles to keep it in tight. Okay, then the knee presses into your hands away from, it's trying to get out of it essentially. The right leg rotates in as it extends. Now, some of the best things in life come out of that oppositional energies. So when two people or two things or whatever oppose one another, and instead of walking away from it, we welcome it, that open attitude to invite the fullness of life's experiences. When we open ourselves, sometimes the best comes in and our potential is actually reached. So what that means, physically speaking, the hands are currently pulling the knee close into the chest, but the leg is resisting by pressing into the hands, and you're activating your buttock muscles. Now, most of us would love to avoid that conflict and just do one or the other and let one side win, but that's not how life works. And it's something that I have to learn, and I'm constantly learning to embrace opposition. We learn it here on the physical yoga mat to embrace the opposing energies, and we see the results physically of what happens. We get stronger, more flexible when the hands are pulling the knee in, but the knee is resisting. And the same happens between human beings. In relationships, if we're willing to embrace open and be open to our highest potential, that means we are open to resistant forces, to two forces that oppose one another, and we step into the conversation, the fire of it, and hopefully what comes out on the other end, and hopefully is the key word, is that we get stronger, more flexible, more open. Okay, and release. Now, 5 bridge poses again. And again, I say hopefully because not all stories have a happy ending, but it's the way that we show up that counts, that matters. That's where our potential exists, when we show up differently in the face of challenges, when we decide to show up, period. Okay, so press your heels down, drive them down, buttocks goes to the sky. And this time, as you inhale, your arms are going to go up and overhead. And as you exhale, your arms go down by your side. Inhale, press down through the heels, lift up, back up, hips up. Exhale, hips down, arms down. Again, drive the buttocks up to the sky, hips up, arms up and over. Exhale. Can you get stronger? Can you activate your buttocks more? Press down through the heels, drive your pelvis to the sky. Exhale. And again, press down through the heels. Exhale. Let's do one more for fun. Press down through the heels. Inhale, rise up. And down. All right, so this time we'll take both knees in. Flex the feet and turn your toes out like so, okay? But your knees in a little bit. Knees, let me be clear on that. Knees turn in, but they're still wide. So you have knees wider than chest width. Pull your heels to your buttocks so your hamstrings are ignited. And with your arms, we're going to create those oppositional forces that make us stronger, okay? So may we be open to the fact that these oppositional forces, though they might be uncomfortable, they are ultimately leading us to a higher potential, okay? So we take our hands, we pull our knees in towards our chest. The knees outside of the chest as best you can, but now activate the buttock muscles and hamstrings by pressing your knees into your hands. Yes, your low back will start to arch, and that's okay. Press your knees into your hands while your arms are trying to win. Your arms are pulling your knees towards your chest. Your knees are trying to win by pushing into your hands, trying to get away, okay? So you're activating your buttock muscles. Now I'm going to ask you one more thing in this action. Your hands are pulling your knees towards your chest. Your knees are trying to get out of it. Now, hopefully with your fingers are on the inside of your shins. You're going to try to pull your shins apart with your hands, but with your knees, you're going to try to squeeze your knees toward one another to activate your adductors, your inner thighs, as well as your hamstrings. So your knees, let's say from the legs are trying to squeeze in and push away from the torso. The arms are trying to squeeze the knees towards the torso, and they're trying to pull the knees apart. So your arms are trying to pull your knees apart and pull them in towards the torso. Your knees are trying to squeeze in and push away from your torso. Those are opposing forces. When we can embrace them, that's how we can repattern the physical body. And when we can embrace those oppositional patterns in our mind, then we can repattern the mind. When we can do that in our society with each other, then we can repattern society and change and step into our highest potential. Of course, it takes time, but it's one step at a time. Okay, and release. Hallelujah. Press down, rise up, bridge pose, and release down. All right. Now, take your right leg up to the sky and interlace the hands behind your hamstring. First things first, you're going to take the hands at the middle of the hamstring and nudge the skin of your thigh up towards your heel, okay? Then bring the leg in as tight as you can without without overstretching, but keep the knee straight. So the knee is straight, and you're just coming in tight. Again, let's say you don't need your hands for this at first. Just bring it in as tight as you can, and then once it's in as tight as you can, you're going to press your leg into your hands like you're trying to get out of the pose, okay? So press your hamstring into your hands. Your leg presses away from your torso. Your arms are pulling the leg towards the torso. Again, those are opposing. Your arms are trying to pull the leg tighter in towards your torso, and your leg is resisting actively by pressing into the hands. Now, slide the left leg, internally rotate it, and slide it on the mat towards till it becomes straight. Very lightly touch the left calf to the ground and firm up your right quadriceps as you press the leg into your hands. Okay, flex the right foot so your calf muscles are also stretching. Again, your arms are trying to pull your leg in tight to the chest. Your leg is resisting by pressing into your hands. May we be open to our own potential to get stronger, to repattern the body, to grow, to expand. We do it physically, and then we can do it mentally, emotionally, and then we can do it in our society together. Okay, and release. Embracing oppositional challenges that we face, whether it's in the mind, body, or in society, in relationships, whatever it might be. Okay, hands behind the interlace behind the hamstrings. Now, this is one of the principles that I formed chromatic yoga on, and it's because it's one of the hardest for me. I would love to say, in my daily life, I prefer things to be very calm, and I prefer things to have one-sided opinions. I love surrounding myself with people that have the same thoughts. It makes life easy, right? But it holds me back from stepping into my highest potential. So hands behind the hamstrings. What makes me stronger is surrounding myself with people that have opposite opinions of me, despite how much that sucks sometimes. Okay, hands go behind the hamstrings and the leg presses into the hands. Now, stretch the right leg slowly away from you. Your hands are pulling the thigh close to your chest. Your thigh is resisting that action. Okay, we know it true to the muscular system. The muscular system would rather just stay relaxed most of the time, right? But by activating it, it gets stronger. By lengthening it, it gets more flexible. By pushing it through different postures, we become more aware of our physical body. Embracing the challenges is what helps us to step into our potential. Embracing oppositional forces and repatterns our body. So may we do it here by, of course, with our arms pulling the leg in tight to the chest, but the leg resists. It pushes back into our hands. We're awakening the hamstring muscles, awakening the buttock muscles. The quads are active by straightening the knee joint. The tibialis anterior is active by trying to flex the foot. And you're going to be stretching the calf muscles by flexing the foot as well. Okay, stay with it. Turn the right leg in, turn the left leg in, and with your left leg, press into your hands. With your hands, pull the leg closer. So those oppositional forces are what make us stronger. May we be open to it. May we cultivate an attitude of openness towards opposition. One of the hardest things for me personally, and for I think most of humanity, cultivating an attitude of openness towards the things that we are resistant to, towards oppositional belief systems, oppositional thoughts, opposition emotions, actions. Okay, and release. So may we seek understanding of one another and ourselves. We too contrast ourselves constantly. All right, so Now that we're starting to warm up in the hips, the next one is half happy baby pose. So let's do it on the left side first because I think it'll be easier for you to see. You'll take your left leg straight up and externally rotate it like so. Then start to bend the knee out to the side. Reach up with your left hand to grab the heel. So you see my thigh is externally rotated, and then I bend the knee out to the side so I can grab the heel. You can use your right buttock muscles in order to help lift your hips up if you need to grab the heel. If this all doesn't work out, then grab a strap around the heel, around the foot, and that's fine. Now, here's what we do. With this left arm, you're going to pull the knee towards the ground. With the left leg, you're going to try to kick the sky while staying externally rotated. You're going to try to kick up into your hand. Your hand resists. Again, you could use a strap for this. So half happy baby, your arm, the oppositional force, the arm pulls the leg down. The leg resists that in order to get stronger through this range of motion. So the heel kicks up to the sky, and you'll see if your knee starts coming in like this, you can use your hand to gently nudge it out to the side and keep the knee out there, and then maybe you won't need your hand, okay? Keep kicking it up. Knee rotates and faces outward. Toes rotate and face outward. The heel kicks straight up to the sky, not to straighten the leg. Keep the knee bent, okay? But kick straight up to the sky, and that'll activate your buttock muscles. Okay, again, we're trying to today get deeper into the hip range of motion. So you're kicking up into your hand resist, and plug your left shoulder back into the ground. For a bonus, straighten the left leg, and you'll see that straighten the right leg, and you'll see that the left knee starts to turn in. Keep it out. Straighten the right leg slowly and keep the leg out here. So kicking straight up to the sky. If you have any knee discomfort, see if gently moving the skin out might help the knee discomfort, but just don't let that hand slingshot off because your knee will come winging back in. Keep it there, hold it there, and then try to do the action that your hand is doing. So try to press your knee out to the side with your hip muscles. All right, and then release, foot down, and observe the sensation in your left and right hip. Take a breath in and out. All right, and here we go on the other side. So half happy baby, you take the leg up, externally rotate the leg, and bring the knee down. The toes are facing out, the knee faces out. With your right hand now, grab the heel, and with your right shoulder head, pull downward. Even your biceps activate here, okay? So you're really using your pull muscles in the right side arm. Against that, you're going to kick your heel up into your hand and spin the knee out to the side. I just heard Siri go off. So your heel presses up into your hand and your knee rotates out to the side. Keeping that heel pressing up into the hand and knee rotating out to the side, you're going to potentially, some of you will straighten the left leg. If that totally throws off this whole thing and you can't keep your knee rotating out and your toes facing out, then forget that. Just keep the knee bent. Okay, but this right arm pulls down as the right heel kicks up. Again, embracing that oppositional forces, embracing what challenges us. This is a cultivating attitude of openness. Again, it's easy to cultivate an attitude of openness towards the things that we love, that we like, the people that we love, the people that we like. It's hard and it's more advanced to cultivate an attitude of openness towards the things that challenge us, the things that are directly in opposition of our belief systems, of our thought patterns, our emotional patterns, or people that are completely opposite or think opposite of us. It is hard to cultivate an openness, and it is advanced to cultivate an openness towards them. And we don't have to, but if we choose to step into our highest potential as a human being, as a person, and an individual, in our own constructs of our ego and our mind, and if we choose to do that as a society, then that's what it takes. So it's up to us individually and as a group to remain open, to cultivate an attitude that allows us to step into our highest potential. Okay, and then release. Feel the sensations of the two legs. Let's do one more round of bridges to keep warming up the hips. So again, this time we'll do the arms, okay? So inhale, press the heels down, reach the arms up and over. Drive down through the heels, hips up. Exhale. 4 more. Press down through the heels. Inhale. Up and over with the arms. Pelvis up, up, up. Exhale. Again, drive down through the heels. Rise up. Exhale. Let's do 2 more. Inhale. Press down. Rise up. Exhale. 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale. All right. Roll to your left side. Come to all fours, hands and knees. Tuck the toes. Come to downward facing dog. First one of the day, huh? All that in just one down dog. Bend the knees and wag the tail a little side to side. I'm going to do a little express hips warm up. So take the right leg to the sky on the inhale. Bend the knee, open up the hip, and then take big circles with the right leg. Big circles. You can bend and straighten the leg if you like. Just take big circles to warm up the hip joint as if it's not warm already. Okay, straight leg, inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Hands on the front knee. Okay, now with the hands on the front knee, lift your hips up above the front knee, so tall. Let's move through range of motion of the pelvis, anterior and posterior tilt. So anterior tilt's when your buttock sticks up and you form an arch in your back. Okay, lift your chest, lift your butt. Now, press down through the heel and let's do posterior tilt. Tuck the tailbone and round the back. Inhale, anterior tilt, stick your buttocks up, lift the chest up, arc the low back. Exhale, posterior tilt, scoop the tailbone, round the back. Again, anterior tilt, inhale, arch the back, stick the buttocks up. Exhale, posterior tilt, press down through the heel, round the back. Inhale, anterior tilt, stick your buttocks up, arch the back. Exhale, posterior tilt and round. Okay, now keep your hands on your front knee, come onto your tippy toes and hinge the front knee forward a little bit. Pause here and see if you can lift your left leg up to the sky. Now, lift your heart, lift your leg like you're in anterior tilt, but then micro tuck your right sit bone, posterior tilt enough so you feel your glute muscles fire up. Take a full breath in. And then slowly place the left foot down and take the fingertips to the ground. Inhale, straighten through the front leg. I recommend flexing the foot. Exhale and bow. Bend the front knee, inhale. Exhale, straighten and bow. Inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten. Bow. Inhale, bend. Down dog as you exhale. Inhale, forward to plank pose. Knees down, lower down. Let's warm up the back a little bit more. 5 times. Inhale, lift the heart up. Lift the hands up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the heart up. Lift the hands up. Exhale, release. 3 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left leg to the sky. Inhale. Bend knee, open up the hip. Really big circles here. Straight leg, square the hip. Step forward. Okay. Place the hands on the front knee. Let's do our express hip warm up here with the hands on the front knee, hips up above the front knee so you can have some range of motion in the pelvis. Together, start in an arched position. So that means stick your buttocks up, lift your heart up. Your low back will be in a back bend, hopefully, anterior tilt to the pelvis, that's called. Okay, then from anterior tilt, we'll shift into posterior tilt. Scoop your left buttocks underneath, round your back, look at your navel. Inhale, arch, anterior tilt, stick your bum up, lift your heart up. Exhale, posterior tilt, scoop the tailbone round. Inhale, arch, anterior tilt. Exhale, posterior tilt, press down through your heel, round the back. Inhale, anterior tilt, lift the buttocks up. And exhale, posterior tilt. Now, come into anterior tilt for a moment. Tap the back foot forward a few centimeters or inches. Lean the front knee forward and lift the right leg up. Lift the heart up so you're in a back bend. Now, start to posterior tilt your left sit bone, your left buttocks, down towards the heel so your glute muscles fire up. So again, I'll say that again. From your left buttocks, press down, activating the glute muscles. So your pelvis will start to lift in the front side and move down in the back side, but activating the glute muscles. Hold here. Let's take one more full breath in. Slowly bend the left knee, lower the right foot. Hands to either side of the front foot. Inhale, straighten through the front leg. I'm going to recommend flexing the foot. Exhale and bow. Okay, inhale, bend the front knee, look forward. Again, exhale, straighten and bow. Inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten. Bow. Inhale. Let's do two more. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Bend the knee, step back, down dog. Forward to plank pose. Inhale. Lower all the way down. Slide the hands wide. Come up on your fingertips. Inhale, round. Soften. Pull the chest forward. And then lift. Forward. And release. Two more. Soften. Shoulder blades back. Pull your heart through. And release. And last one. Press the plank pose if you can. Exhale, down dog. Take the right foot between your hands, back heel down. Bring your hands on the inside of your foot. Okay, move your groins back and pull your feet toward each other. Focus now on your right glute muscles. So your right heel is going to drive down into the ground and your pelvis turns more to the side of the mat rather than to the front. So pelvis and chest towards the side of the mat, but your right knee presses out outward away from the big toe towards the pinky toe. So right knee presses outward and then bow here. Drive your right heel down into the ground, finding your buttock muscles, and pull your feet toward each other. Remember, in that intensity, where the mind wants to run away or stop doing it or just find more ease, right? More comfort, let's say that. The mind wants to find more comfort. Okay. Instead of that, may we be open to our potential. May we be open to embrace the challenges. Pull your feet toward each other and press your right heel down. May I be open to my highest potential physically, emotionally, mentally. So I can embrace this challenge right now to get stronger. Pull the back foot towards the front foot and lift the back inner thigh up away from the ground. You should feel your adductor muscles toning. The front heel driving down. Okay, then walk the hands back to center, step back, down dog. Let the blood rush back down through the foot. Take a full breath in and exhale. Left foot between the hands, back heel down. Walk the hands over to the right. Move your groins and buttocks back. Pull your feet toward one another and drive the left heel down into the ground. Activate your glute muscles on the left side and make sure the knee is pressing out towards the pinky toe side of the foot. Against that, bend the elbows out to the side and bow. Keep driving the left heel down to warm up the glute muscles and pull your feet toward each other. Let's cultivate that attitude of openness. Open to my potential to get stronger, to gain range of motion. And what that takes is my absolute attention, my awareness on the parts of the mind that want to run away from the discomfort. And Svadhyaya is the process or the practice of becoming more self-aware, aware of the parts of myself that I'm uncomfortable with when I step into new situations, where I step into potential situations that could make me stronger, that could make me more powerful, that could help me rise up and could help others around me rise up, and society and families and my connection to everyone around me. We could all rise if I have the willpower to stay open, to have the difficult conversation with myself, to have a difficult conversation with somebody else, to face my own inner demons and to face the demons outward as well. Come back to center, step back, down dog. Full breath in and full breath out. All right, step into Malasana squat pose. Place the elbows on the inside of the knees. Squeeze the knees into your arms and lift the chest up. Get taller. Lift your hips up a little higher. So your knees squeeze into your elbows, warming up the inner thigh muscles. Hands to the ground, turn the legs in, press the heels out, and bow. Press your heels out, activating your abductors, your outer hip muscles, to try to get the thigh bones a little bit deeper in the hip socket. Let's do 2 more breaths. Let's do 1 more breath together. Okay, now bring your feet in closer. Let's go toes to touch, heels slightly apart. Lift and lengthen the chest and press the back of the hamstrings and heels outwards, so the backs of the legs move outward. Okay, now bow forward over yourself. Keep leaning forward into your toes and press your toes into the mat. Interlace the hands behind the back and stretch the shoulders. As you stretch the shoulders, try to retract the shoulder blades toward each other. 3 more breaths. Two more breaths. One more breath. Bend the knees, Utkatasana. Lift the heart up. Now reach the arms to the sky. Hold here. Let's warm up the back muscles by moving the knees back, sticking the buttocks up and lifting the chest up. So more anterior tilt of the pelvis, more of an arc in the low back. Let's do 3 more breaths. Press the heels out. So push the backs of the legs apart, warming up the outer buttock muscles. Full breath in. 2 more. May we remain open to our potential. That means when we feel that desire to run away, that's when we say, deep breath in, you got this, stay open. Invite the contrasting energy. That's what makes us stronger. Place the hands on the right knee. Take your left leg straight back behind you like we did that preparation for Warrior 3. But now here's the challenging part. You're going to keep your kneecap. Look at your right kneecap, keeping it facing straight forward. Start to turn your pelvis around your thighs. So your torso is starting to go towards the right, your left leg to the left. Then do the opposite. Turn around your thigh bone. So your kneecap stays straight forward. Very slowly turn your torso to the left and your left leg like a little helicopter, okay? Then slowly go back, very slowly. The right kneecap, the standing knee, stays straight forward. Rotate the pelvis around the thigh bone. And then back. Okay, back to, keep going to the inside. Rotate, 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 rotate. And then back. Okay, and stand on up. Feel your glutes, feel your buttock muscles. Let the blood rush back down. Let me just do that real quickly for you, just in case it's hard to see what's happening. Essentially, you're at a, your torso is horizontal to the ground, and you're rotating the pelvis around the standing thigh bone. Now, the thigh bone will want to move. You're going to keep the thigh bone completely still, facing straight forward the best you can, and you'll spin your pelvis, pivot the pelvis around the thigh bone. Okay, that's going to be using your internal and external rotators of the hip muscles. So we're really warming up the glutes. So let's try the left side of this once you catch your breath. Bend the knees, place your hands on your left knee. Stand into your left heel, press down through it so you use your buttocks and lift the right leg up. Arch in the low back. Now look at your left knee for a moment. Keep it facing straight forward, and let's helicopter around the femur bone. Turn the pelvis, rotate it, rotate it, rotate it. So you're starting to look towards the inside of your yoga mat, and your leg is trailing to the inside as well, the other way. Okay, then rotate all the way around like you're doing a circle around your thigh bone. Rotate the pelvis, rotate, rotate, rotate. Okay, continue. And as you see, I'm fumbling, and so you're probably fumbling, and that's part of it. Learning to develop strength through the range of motion, training the muscles to activate here, warming them up, heating them up, and also learning. We're training the body to activate as it receives information, to receive the information and act accordingly. Okay, and then stand on up. Okay, this is what's required is stand in Tadasana for a moment. Let the sensations rush back down. Feel the experience as it is. May we be open to all that we do not know. May we be open to our highest potential, which means that we face the challenges of the day-to-day life, inside the mind, inside the body, and outwardly as well. May we embrace cultivating an attitude of embracing opposition, cultivating an attitude of embracing the unknown. All right. So now let's come into, we're not doing too much of the traditional practice today. Sorry. Really want to get the best efficiency out of getting your hips awake for this one. Okay, so this time what we'll do is you'll step your left foot back, and if you can, you'll place your right foot up on a block. Okay, so now we'll deepen the hip flexion by coming on down here. And if you can, your right arm comes underneath and grabs your ankle. I think that's probably the best place, the ankle. Okay, so try this with me. Your right foot on a block. If you can't get it on the block, no worries. You don't need the block at all. You can do the same pose without the block. Okay, if you can, you take your right arm underneath and grab your ankle and take a bow. Now the right heel drives down into the block, activating your buttocks and hamstrings. Your feet gently pull toward each other the entire time. Your breath moves through you, even though you're facing challenges physically. The breath is with you. Keep pressing down, driving down through the heel.
Keep pulling your feet toward each other. One more breath. And coming on up. Step off the block. Okay, and we just switch. We don't even have to, just switch to the opposite side of the mat. Put your foot up onto the block. Heel toe the back foot away from you. And again, the torso it's not resting on the thigh. That would defeat the purpose. The torso is inside the thigh. Left arm comes underneath and grabs the outer ankle. You can squeeze with your left arm, squeeze the ankle in, but with your left heel, drive the heel down into the block, activating your glute muscles. Now pull your feet toward one another so your hips stay lifted and light, bowing inward. One more breath. Okay, keep pulling your feet toward each other as you come out. Take the foot off the block. Now let's do Prasarita Padottanasana. So both feet parallel. Stick your bum up to the sky. Lift your heart up. Now bow and see if you can take an interlacing non-dominant grip with the hands behind your back. Stretch the shoulders. Two more breaths. One more breath. Okay, and then release. So now turn both toes out. Skandasana. Even if your heel comes up, that's okay. Don't worry about the heel. But what I'd like you to do is get as low as you can with your left torso and get your armpit down and out to the side like so. You can flex this foot here. Wherever you are, just stay low with your torso. Don't worry about your hips. If you could even sit on a block if you need to, but just get low with the torso, just like this, okay? Let's hold here. 3 breaths. 2 more breaths. One more breath. Other side. Okay, get on down nice and low. Best of your ability. Now, you might be up here, okay, and that's totally cool, but just try to get your torso low, okay? You might have a block under your bum, too. That's all right, too. For now, you're just trying to really see how my armpit and shin are tight into one another. That's what we're really trying to find. As tight of a kind of a connection between the right armpit and the shin as possible. One more breath. All right, cool. Coming on up. So let's see. Next step, we take a modified lizard pose. So you'll take a knee down and now place the foot on the block. You can manipulate this back leg a little bit. So you're just about hip width apart if you look at the knees. But you're going to come on down same way you've been doing, and then take your arm underneath and see if you can bow towards the block, okay? Stick your bum up to the sky, but drive down through the heel, really awakening the leg muscles here. So your right heel is pressing down. Two more breaths. All right, switching. either to the back of the mat. Breathe slow and steady. Amongst the challenges we face, may we also remember that there's the beautiful breath pulsing through us and how grateful we can be just to have each breath. Stick the buttocks up in that openness to our potential and trying to hold ourselves to it. Sometimes we lose compassion for ourselves, in which case we want to remind ourselves the beauty of life pulses through us. The beauty of nature is us in the form of us. And all we're trying to do is just take full advantage of this experience of being human. Take full advantage by embracing challenges as much as we celebrate the joys and the wins and the fullness of life. On the positive side, we also awaken all of what we have room to grow, whether it's in the mind or in our relationships or in our society or or in our physical body. We try to awaken to all of it. Okay, come on up. Now, a couple of more postures before we totally cool down here. And, I want to emphasize that these poses, while they're not so pretty necessarily, they're kind of cool, I guess. If you don't have access to them, it's not good to force. And the reason why is because it could damage the shoulder joint. Okay. So we don't want to put the shoulder at risk. And so what that means is we have to be really deep in the hip socket. So I'll show you at first, and if I'm standing, if I'm straight on the mat like this heel is going to be out to the side like so that I can get as low as possible. Okay. Now, if I can get low and my armpit is able to get around my shin here, then I can internally rotate and squeeze the leg. I squeeze my knee into my chest. Otherwise, if the knee goes out, then it pulls the shoulder out, okay? But if I squeeze my knee into my chest and I get low here, then you see how the shoulder is relatively at ease. I'd like you to get your shoulder at ease. If it's not at ease, then it's still take some time in the hip opening, okay? We did our best for today and know that it'll come with time. But you can widen the knee at first to get low, but then squeeze the knee into your chest to get the arm around. Now, this arm can clasp, okay? So I'll show you what that looks like from the back side. So wherever you are, you can go wide with the knee to get low, but then you squeeze it in tight and wrap the arm around. Now, if that causes pressure in the shoulder, you may not be ready for it, and that's okay. You can just bow forward without the bind. If not, you can maybe clasp, or potentially grab a wrist and bow forward, okay? Whatever you do get, that's okay. Just make sure your shoulder is, if you're doing the bind, make sure your shoulder is tight and snug and the knee is squeezing in. Don't worry about your left hip being on the ground. It should be lifted. Just squeeze your knee into your chest the best of your ability. And maybe you bow forward to the degree that's possible for you. Again, don't worry about your left sit bone being on the ground. Biomechanically, it just doesn't make any sense for it to put it down. You can move it towards the ground, but make sure that doesn't compromise the shoulder. Okay, come on up and release the bind like you're holding a tray. So you externally rotate the arms. And we try the other side. Okay, bring the leg in a little bit wide. Knee can go out to the side at first. I feel like I have to find angles to show you this. Knee out to the side. So you can get low. Okay, knee out to the side gets you low. But then once you're low, you're going to squeeze the knee. Maybe this angle will be best. Once you're low, then you squeeze the knee into your chest, even if that means sticking your buttocks up. And you want this arm to be free as it reaches around, right? Just free and easeful. If it's not, then it's in the hips. It's not the shoulders that need to open up. It's the hips that need to open up. Okay, most people work too hard on opening the shoulders when really it's the hips have to open for this pose to get more access. Okay, squeeze your right knee into your chest the best you can and bow. All right, come on up. So here's where I'd like to, try to work with today. You'll take your hands around this is hard. So there's two options. Everyone's going to do the first option, okay? Or you're going to do your best. You hold your knee tight into your chest and you shift your weight into your right foot, come onto the tippy toes of your left, and then start to stand up. Now, here's where it gets tricky. You have to shift as much weight into your right foot as possible to stand up with your knee into your chest, like so. And then you come back down. Now, that takes a lot of strength in the standing leg. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, you grab your knee into your chest. You lean into your opposite. So if I'm holding my right knee right now, you lean into your left foot, come onto the tippy toe of the right, press down through the left leg, and pull the knee tight into the chest as you rise, and you bring the leg up. Here you are. Okay. Then you go back down, tilting the pelvis anteriorly to go down. Try the other side. So you grab the knee. You have to tip your pelvis forward and tip your chest forward, and then pull the heel to your bum as you rise, like a flamingo, and then rise up. Okay? Then you go tip the pelvis anteriorly, lower down. I'll show it to you again on the other side, trying it with me or watching me. The mechanics are step one, lean into the foot that you're going to use. So away from the leg that you're holding. Step two is bow forward and start to pull the leg up into the chest. Step three is push down through the standing leg and then rise. Okay, give you a couple of more moments to try on each side, and knowing that this is very hard and it may not happen. If you're not getting anywhere, don't force it. Just rewind and watch me a number of times, and a lot has to do with shifting of the weight. Now, why we do that first is because the next posture, I don't want you to force it. If that was hard, this will be harder. Okay. And where everyone can start is by trying to get the left, maybe just watch me this round. Okay. So don't do it. You try to get your left arm underneath and go as low as possible. Watch how I do that. The knee goes wide and then I bow in. You see that? I'm going to do that on the other side. Knee goes out, I bow, and then I wrap. Then once I'm around, I squeeze the knee back into the chest, and then I turn open. Now, okay, if I want to come up, so you might just get here or even just here and say, that's enough for me, right? 1, 2, and then the third thing is you have to do exactly what you just did. You come in tight, lean forward, rise, all the way up. This is a very hard pose because the knee puts a lot of pressure on the shoulder, and your shoulder has to resist that. If your shoulder gives in, it's dangerous on the shoulder joint. Okay, so I stress if you don't have a tight bind with the shoulder, it's not worth doing this. So again, step one is here. I would encourage you to stay here. Step two, or option two, is to try to take the bind and hold here. Now, if there isn't a tight connection, you're out here or whatever, then no need to force this, okay? No one's forcing you. No one's even watching. Okay, lift the heel up of the leg that you're bound on, and then shift your weight over the thigh of the standing leg. Pull your heel to your bum. rise up like a flamingo, and then all the way up. Okay, there's one little tip there too. If you're trying the third variation, I'll give you one more tip, okay? So one of the things that I do is I come to the tippy toes, and then I rest my chest on the thigh so I can get here. This might be I really like that a lot, actually. Okay, watch that again. So once I get here, come onto my tippy toes, and I move this knee, standing knee, underneath my chest so I can pull this heel to my bum, and that way my shoulder alignment's better, and then I can come on up. I like that a lot. That's the first time I really discovered that. So learning new things myself. All right, I'll show that one more time. Okay, I get into my bind here. I shift my knee underneath my chest, and I rest my chest on top. This allows me time to squeeze the heel to the bum, and then I can press down and rise. Yeah, that's much better. Okay. That's enough of that, huh? That's an intense one. Let's start. Let's just kind of come into down dog, start our descent or cool down. Pigeon on the right side. Enjoy a bow. And be honest, I meant to look up the Sanskrit for that posture. I totally forgot. I don't remember the name of the pose either in Sanskrit or in English. I've always used it as a preparatory pose, but it is an incredibly challenging posture that is helpful on our path towards Vishvamitrasana that we're moving towards, because it requires that depth of hip range of motion, which, by the way, it's a long-term haul for the hip mobility. When I was pretty proficient in my yoga practice, about 3 years in, I had been studying every day, all day long, and I noticed that really the hips needed some attention. My hips needed to develop range of motion, and I decided to go on an adventure to developing hip flexibility. And it wound up being a 1.5 year long in-depth study of anatomy of the hips and anatomy of my own hips. So, integrating knowledge into the wisdom of my actual body. And that's when I really, after a 1.5 years of developing range of motion and understanding intellectually and working through the hips, that's when I really started to open my hips. But it took a lot of dedication, because the hips are a big area of the body with a lot of muscles that surround, so they can be tricky. So don't feel at all like, if you didn't get it in one class, that's just a small, very, very small period of time to be studying, the hip joint. Okay, come on out. Let's switch sides. And what I offer to you in these classes are a lot of these poses that seem a little funky, a little bit different. Like you see, I bow to the right instead of straight forward, and my back toes stay tucked, my back heel reaches back, things like that. The nuances that I share with you in the hip openings, kicking through the heel, these are all the things that I discovered that created what I would consider to be a rapid transformation in the hips. Some people would think 1.5 years is a long time, but in the grand scheme of practicing and of life, 1.5 years to transform the muscles of your pelvis is quite short. And we usually go for that instant gratification of passive stretching, hoping that that's going to develop range of motion, and we'll wind up on a 10 to 20 year path if we stay on that. It actually is a lot longer. That's what I have found, that anything I've approached from a passive standpoint takes a lot more time. It's not to say we should over effort. There is a certain amount of surrender that needs to happen for the hips to open up. But there's also a certain amount of effort and participation in the journey. It's not just just like the repatterning the mind, it's not like it'll just happen because we want it to. We have to face the challenges. We have to be open to the oppositional experiences that we have not had yet, that we've not interacted with yet, in order to change the patterns of the mind or the brain or the physical body or our relationships, friendships, society. It's the long haul, taking action day by day. All right, coming on out. Lay onto your back. Let's take happy baby pose. So here's where we, in these postures, we take a remembrance of the gratitude for this body and how far we've come. We have to remember the wins, the celebrations, the challenges that we did face. Yes, of course, still open to more challenges, but if we're only looking at what we haven't done yet, we'll burn out. So while we focus the majority of the intense part of our asana practice on developing strength, focusing on awakening to the challenges and stepping up to them, we also want to balance that with celebrating what we've created, our efforts, celebrating the joy of just simply being alive without doing anything new, just being here. All right, release the legs into Shavasana. Let's take a breath in together. Exhale it through the mouth. And now we just open to what we've gained, open to the sensational experience of being alive. Let the mind stay open to what it means to be here in this body. Just by observing, just by watching the human experience that we're having, we start to break down the constructs of the mind and the ego. Because observation, witnessing, these energies exist beyond the self and into the more vast ocean of consciousness itself, that part of us, the citta, the witness.
Bring your breath back to your awareness. Feel the sensations of your body. Feel the magnificence of breath that moves through this physical form, giving us life, uniting us as a community here and to all of humanity. Awaken the fingers and toes. And stretch the arms. And the knees, and roll to our side. And come up to a seated position. Let's place the right and the left palms together in the symbol and representation of opposition. Yoga meaning the union of opposites. To yoke is the translation, the union of opposites. This is where our greatest potential lies. It's the deep underlying message of all of the yoga practices. So I want to thank you because I know firsthand personally how hard it is to embrace opposition. It's hard on a physical level for the brain itself, the right hemisphere of the brain and the left hemisphere, to embrace one another. For the linear and the creative parts of ourselves to integrate. That in itself is hard, and that's right inside of our physical body. It's challenging to embrace strength while embracing flexibility. It's challenging to embrace opposing opinions of ours. It's challenging to embrace the unknown against all of our known experiences. So this symbol of Anjali Mudra is the uniting of the sacred masculine, the sacred feminine, the right side, the left side, the sun, the moon, all of positional energy, and bringing it to one as representation of the oneness of consciousness itself. This is where our true, unbound, infinite potential exists. So may we continue to learn and to embrace it on the micro level in order to experience more of the macro. So I want to thank you for your courage in doing so on the mat today. Thank you for your courage in stepping into this practice. I want to honor you for that moment. Please honor yourself. Take a moment to bow. I'm grateful to practice with someone open-minded like yourself. Thank you for being a part of this community. Namaste. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Have a really beautiful weekend. Again, I sent you a discount code for this yoga mat that I'm using by Body Nova. A friend of mine created an American branch. Her name is Ava, and she's a cool girl who really has been in the yoga business for quite a long time, and now she started this branch, and I really want to support her. And so She sent me a yoga mat and then said, "Why don't we give your immersion people a discount code?" So super cool. We gave you the 20% off discount code, the Yogi Mat 20. So if you're looking for yoga mats, water bottles, yoga blocks, straps, or whatever, check it out. I sent the link in the email today. All right, everyone. If you're interested in the 300-hour training or any part of it, such as like maybe you just want to learn more about the physical body and anatomy, biomechanics, and all the systems of how they work together in each individual posture, then maybe you'd be interested to click the 300-hour yoga tab. You don't have to be a teacher to really learn. If you want to just take on one of those modules. If you're really interested in the philosophy, you might be interested in the heart section. Or if you're a 200-hour certified teacher and you want to get 300 hours certified to be a 500-hour teacher, then click that 300-hour tab at the top of the, well, if you're on mobile, it's in the drop-down menu. If you're on desktop, you'll see it at the top of the menu there, 300-hour training. 300-hour online, I think it says. And then you get all the information. Again, you can sign up if you're not a teacher and you just want to learn more about the body, or you want to learn more about the philosophy. We have the body and the heart. You'll see them at the bottom of that page. And there's a video there. You can press play and hear from me about each of the experiences. All right, everyone. See you soon. Thank you so much.